The show has started. It has rained off and on. So you can see the grounds are muddy. But the show will go on as advertised. Many people will come, some will stay home. But Rollag never stops. Rain or shine, we do the best we can with what we have. Here you see, it's pretty cloudy yet this morning, isn't it? Hey, listen, the train is working. The train is going around the 2-mile track. Boy, pretty soon we can have a ride. Look at all them tractors sitting there. Many man-hours went into bringing them, and they're all there for you guys to look at and enjoy. We really appreciate you coming.
Buildings.
We have about 280 acres. Probably 75 are the area where the exhibits are. You notice every brand of tractor that was commonly used in the old days, even up to the present, are here today for your viewing enjoyment. We have about 110 buildings on our show. They are most of them used to store the equipment in over the winter. Okay, look at now, we're coming to the steam engines. They're all getting steamed up, getting up pressure, so they will be ready to grow. The smoke doesn't rise very good today because it's heavy and damp. But it'll run. Everything will be going in a little while. See ya. Just because it's a little dull doesn't mean the people will stay home. Some wear boots, some even go barefooted, but they still enjoy coming to Rollag. He's ready to be an engineer, isn't he? Women dressed in their finest dress.
Well, we're sitting here visiting with a fellow by the name of Harry Klein. He's an old Case serviceman and been with the Case company all his working days. He's put in a lifetime working with the J.I. Case company. He's a native Minnesotan. He's traveled all over the world on behalf of the Case company. He's been a troubleshooter in every respect of Case machinery, probably knows more about the whole general line and the history than anybody that I know of. And it's really a treat to have him here. He is the closest thing to old J.I. Case himself, and I'm sure he had most of the same attributes, and that's how come he became so famous in the Case company. Right now we're showing one of the late Case engines, which happens to belong to me. I am quite proud of this engine. I bought it in Porcupine Plains, Saskatchewan, a good many years ago now, and I've restored it, and we have it here at the show. It's of the late engines, all the improvements that they really could put on an engine by the time they were done. And then we have a lot of pictures here coming along of models and whatnot. I guess we even have the refreshment wagon there, if you want to. And the Case toy tractors, pedal tractors, all of these items becoming antiques as years go by. And here we have an example of a Case thrasher. They built the most thrashers of any company. Here we have one of the very oldest big gas tractors that could handle most anything that a steam engine could handle. Here is another old gas tractor, one of the bigger ones. And here we have a kind of a rare tractor, Case three-wheeler, and now we're into the cross-motor Case tractors. This is one of the later Case cross motors. And this is one of the earlier ones. They're basically the same tractor, a few little improvements here and there. This is one of the bigger Case cross motors. They built quite a full line of them. This is prior to the cross motors, although the engine lays crossways. This is probably the first successful Case tractor that was marketed and came out in 1911. It's called a 2040 and a two-cylinder opposed engine. Here we have, then to the left, there's the biggest one they made in the farm tractor, gasoline tractors back in early days of the gas tractor. That was called a 4072, and it would be guaranteed, the Case company guaranteed it to pull the largest thrasher you could buy and handle it well. And of course the full line of Case machinery was like their plows and harrows, all of these things. A lot of them lines of machinery were companies that were bought out by the Case company and developed then further and probably marketed as the Case, as strictly as Case. Some of them carried the original line, the name of the original line also, as can be found in certain. And here we have an example of a scale model of the Case Incline, which was probably the most exciting thing that was ever done in merchandising of Case engines. It started as Case engines. They included gas tractors as they came along. And this is a model of a Case separator, thrasher, Case plow, and here's our locomotive, and it runs daily, and you can ride this train free.
They didn't make any of them feet cars.
Good car.
I guess what they said they only wants to make a Case tractor.
Yeah, he did this rather than having to get out he did this, he rigged this, he wants to get a bucket, but this is temporary.
That's a part of our plant. That'd be, you got people like that? Are they owned? It's compression off the cylinder, right? That runs it?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Probably something would be good to mention here at this point in time. There's some confusion in this business of horsepower rating that came about during the steam era, and it's a little elusive if you don't know about it. The engines were predominantly the early days of the steam engine. They were rated in what we call the low rating or the nominal rating, and that was if you had a 20 horse engine, that was a good sized engine. That was later changed to be called a 60. So there's quite a discrepancy here. And of course, the bigger the engines, the worse discrepancy. There's some, like we have on the grounds, at least two 110 Case engines. They're rated 110 horsepower. That is flywheel brake horsepower. When they first came out, they were not rated 110, they were rated 32. And so when you hear a rating that looks to be rather small for the size of the piece of machinery, well, you can usually multiply it by 3 and you'll come up with the later rating, which was sort of like a 32 became 110, and the 25 horse became the 75, and Joe's 60 became, or 20 horse became a 60. That all took place about 1910, and the reason being they felt it was a more accurate rating to go by flywheel brake horsepower. And there's been a lot of discrepancy, a lot of controversy about the low rating and what does that apply to, and some feel it's drawbar, which is the natural thing. They latch onto it. But also there's a controversy about that it's probably boiler horsepower, because you had to have a rating for boiler horsepower too. That goes way back to the invention of the steam engine, and Mr. Watts was the inventor of the steam engine, and in order to sell his engines, of course, he had to be able to equate it to some other form of power that was well understood at the time, which was, of course, about the only thing was horses or mules or so on. But so he made a comparison between how much work you could do with such and such a size engine to so many horses. And that's where the term horsepower originates from. And if that clears up any misunderstandings, why it's a little cumbersome way of doing it, but that's what it became, and that's what it is basic to it now, even on newer equipment that's rated. A lot of it, you can see if it's rated flywheel brake horsepower, is really the common thing now.
Dahlman.
This is Lawrence Dahlman steam engine, and I'm running it Stephen Dahlman. And this is the first time it's been out here in 16 years, and we've been searching with it for 3 days, a little bit every day, and a lot of people have watched it. A lot of people thought they would never see it again.
That you see a Case portable engine here. This is one of the later portables. The older ones didn't have this style engine bed and so forth. It was a little more plastic. Mr. Anderson from Andover, South Dakota owns this, and
So this
he
was
bought
on
it on an auction for just recently in Rockford, Illinois. George Hedfield. Last year, I guess. but this is one of his collection. Okay. Yeah, this monument or memorial, I guess, is, in a way, we call it the Western Minnesota Thrasherman's Memorial. It's something that we had a little hand in, the Rollag family, I should say, and we the eagle, the large eagle that you see there, is donated by the J.I. Case Company. It was the eagle, that emblem that stood on top of the factory main office in Racine, Wisconsin. So it's got quite a history behind it, and it's we acquired that. It was really in bad condition, but we had a little memorial money of our own from something that kind of a sad situation in our family. But anyway, we decided to put it into something that would stand as one item at Rollag in memory of our son Ronald, who died unfortunately. He was only 14 years old, but he was quite a Rollag enthusiast. So we thought this would be a good place to do something for him.
That's right.
Is this where the parade will go?
This is where it starts to go out, yeah.
Okay.
But the other rigs are coming out of down there and going out.
So the best place to watch.
Well, this is a typical scene that you see around the showgrounds all the time. You see an engine coming on, and then we have a road roller back there. That's a pretty significant piece of antique machinery now. Case made a lot of road rollers. They made other equipment for road grading and also anything to do with road construction, gravel crushers, rock crushers, I should say, and things like that. This is a 75 horse case. This was rated 75 as it was a later engine. It would have otherwise been a 25, but I explained some of this horsepower business previously, I believe. Now this engine shows extension rims on it. This was a kind of a common thing. A lot of owners would buy the extension rims, which would add on to the width of the drive wheel for flotation and traction and all of those reasons. And this was a common common thing. Something like dualing up a tractor. We have dual wheels now on all the big tractors, it seems like. And that's what this is all about too. They're dualing up.
Case 30 Model L. And if some other company's been building this car, it would have run about $2,500 to $3,000. So you really got a good value for the dollar on this car. Model B, that's what the salesman today, Case Road. Yeah, and one night he hit a cow and broke the bracket off the post of that. They told him he was going to bring it on the news.
Second each. You're going to be around today, aren't you?
These are original pictures taken in the early part of the century when this traveling road show, the Incline plane, and the steamers and gas tractors going up the incline were taken to exhibits all around the country.
Granddaughter of J.I. Case himself, the famous J.I. Case, thrashing machinery king of the world. And I want to introduce you to Helen, and here she is.
Thank you so much, Richard. I hope you all can hear me over all the excitement of all equipment present and the active people. My heart really goes out to all of you as we enjoy the richness of our heritage through agriculture, which is what makes America strong all the way through. J.I., which be grateful for each and every one of you being here to enjoy the machinery, to learn, to educate the children, and to share in the great glory of what can be done through history. Certainly, machinery is far different than that J.I. saw, but he would appreciate all that you're doing, and it's grand that we can come and gather in such beautiful show locations as this location at Rollag to simply keep it all alive, enjoy it. Agriculture will always be there by the grace of God for all present and those coming ahead.
Just step back a little bit.
Exhibit. They were definitely a company that believed in promoting and advertising, and they alive so our kids and our future kids don't forget what it took to build this great nation 20 years ago. And there it is, Courtney Stottinger and Reed Rochelle.
Does this gas one have brakes?
How well that brake will hold on the back stop.
Yeah, it's got a little band on it.
I've been on an engine on the Incline, and I can tell you firsthand that that's a very steady hand on the clutch. And those wheels, those front wheels have to be lined up as well, because the tractor as well as the seat engine both have a differential, and if you get cocked one way or the other, that engine can get sideways awfully quick.
feature, kind of the Webster Case Expo this year.
Well, it's been the main feature. It was booked as the main feature, but we've had so much rain. We've had about 4 inches of rain, and I haven't been able to do it, so it's really not a very good feature. But this is a 1919 40-horse case. It's set up to climb the high ramp. It's got some spikes welded on the rear wheel, so it'll bite into the deck of the plank, or the ramp was developed by Case Company in about 1901, and I'm from Pawnee, Oklahoma, and we have a nice ramp down there, which I run every year, and I was invited to come up here by the Nelsons to bring an engine up and run the ramp, and I haven't been able to really do my full potential on it yet, so hopefully it's going to clear off and quit raining.
Oh.
I sprayed there a whole lot.
I wonder if that looks, is that where the steam goes in right there, where underneath? I wonder if it's going to push both ways. I don't see it coming out anywhere.
Hello? Okay.
No, maybe not.
Positioning the engine into place here. Make sure everything is just right on the engine. Make sure the steam is...
Power in.
Why not? That's hearing Holy man! I wasn't going to do it.
You'll see there in his left hand is the reversing lever, and in his right hand will be the throttle, and he's opening that throttle to hold speed pressure against the weight of that engine coming down the incline. Now there's more than enough power to climb this hill, more than enough power to stop that engine. One of the unique things about a steam traction engine was that it did not have brakes. And so what Carl demonstrated there was the power of steam holding that piston in place in that 8.5 by 12 inch cylinder. Well, now we have an unexpected stunt here with a Case car. I believe that's Augie Fritz there in the passenger. We've been told this is Bob McCullen's Case car, and I think they've decided to give up on that attempt to run the old Case car up the incline. This will be a
done in 100 years.
And there you have it, folks. Carl Tuttle from Howell, Michigan on the 40-horse steam engine. Ricky Grosjean and Cody Stonimer on the 2040 Case tractor. Give them a hand. This has not been performed in over 100 years.
This is Joanne and Arlen Nelson, the 2006 Senior King and Queen of WMSTR. Arlen is one of the very few original charter members of WMSTR who are still around and active at our show.
This is a Lynn tractor. It's called a tractor. It's a half-track, in other words, and it was used extensively in Canada for logging operations. There were quite a number of them up there. They're a takeoff from Steam Phoenix log hauler, and they were also a steam engine on tracks. This is a 3060 Case tractor from the very early days of Case tractors, gasoline tractors or oil engines. They'd run on low-grade fuel. And it's a very rare tractor. There is 5 for sure that I know of, and I believe the 6th one is being restored out of parts. So there's only 6 of these at the max in existence anywhere in Canada, US, wherever. And we happen to have 3 of them here, restored in condition like this, at the show this year, which has a lot to say for Case. This engine here is a 22-horse Minneapolis. It's owned by the Austin family, and they've been great collectors and contributors to the show from the very early on. And it's 100 years old, this show. Okay. Yes, here we have an Avery tractor coming along in the parade, and followed by a Minneapolis, I guess, and there's other tractors. There's an Avery steam engine. They had quite a unique design. They were an undermounted engine, totally different than the other conventional engines of the time, and it was built that way in order to take all the strain off the boiler. There is the tractor, starting them out young, and we like to see that. So, but anyway, getting back to these Avery steam engines, that was a unique design. They were the only company that really did anything in that regard. There was one other company that did a little bit of it, called the Altman Star, and they built a few, but they didn't build anything like the Avery. Avery was a big company at that time, famous for their yellowfell separators and all of that. They were wonderful machines, and they managed to get that off the. And the Bulldog is is their emblem. It says "Teeth Talk" in front, and it's quite an engine. They're a very valuable engine now, rare, sought after by everybody that's a collector. We're proud to have 2 of them there. Now we see a very different engine, and a very significant engine to this area. It's Buffalo Pitts engine. It's a 35-horse double simple engine. I believe it was sold new out of Fargo in 1905 or 6, something like that. And this engine has the distinction of keeping on the most years of any engine here on the grounds. In fact, it started out when it was new, like in 5 or 6, and it kept on till well into I believe into the 80s, which is really an unusual record. It thrashed the grain on the Anderson farm, and of course other farms earlier, but it kept on the Anderson farm over by Wolverton, really Christine, North Dakota, till not very long ago. And they harvested their grain, they stacked it, and which is really the best way to harvest if you want the best possible quality wheat or anything else. Why, that would be the best. And they kept on with that method until just recently. It used to be quite a thing for us to go out there and see this, because it was long after the steam engine had quit being used and the shows were well underway, and here was one place we could go and see it in review again. It was like it was the real McCoy, in other words. And many of us steam guys enjoyed going out there. Still owned by the Anderson family.
This is a model of a Hart Par tractor. It is a 4/10 model, size model, started by Elmer Larson, and after he passed away, Jerry Swedberg and Jim Bryden purchased the big tractor and the model at the auction. Ended up, Jim had the model, which he's completed, and you see it running, and here's Jerry Swedberg on his old Hart Par, which is 100 years old this year. Thank you. Happy birthday, tractor.